In this video, I explain my games move by move, giving you lots of tips and strategy to improve your chess. In the first game, I win in just 11 moves. And you have to notice. There we go, we have the black pieces. Let's see which opening will my opponent choose. E4, and here I like to go very standard, E5. In my career, I've done my opening choices like a circle. I started playing E4, E5, then I went to play the Sicilian, and now I'm back to play E4, E5. So the circle of life. Now, my opponent is playing the 4 knights, because there are 4 knights out, and this is called Scotch, meaning that my opponent is going with the move D4, attacking the center. Now, I want to trade here, the knight will take back, and then we have all the 4 knights very strong, but now I have a good move. The bishop goes out, pinning this knight, and attention, because this pawn is hanging. My opponent knows a bit of theory, and he knows that here, he cannot simply protect like this the pawn, but because this knight would be hanging. So they first trade, I now have to take back. Usually it's good to take back towards the center. You might say, Alessia, you have 2 double pawns. Don't worry, I'm going to play the move d5 quite soon, and then pawn takes, and my pawn structure will be safe. Now, my opponent, I think, made a small mistake, or a move that is not so good, because here there is a tactical problem. I can take, bishop takes, and I could take this pawn. The position afterwards is quite complicated, because my opponent has the good bishop here at the end of it. I'm selecting the knight because the bishop will go there if I take. It's complicated. I think there will be compensation, but let's go for it. I'll take, bishop takes, and I go with my knight. Actually, this pawn is hanging, so that was actually bad what I did. Okay, now let's play the simple castle and say, oh no, my knight! Ooh, my opponent is not taking, because if they would take, there would be rook e8, but the move f3 is a huge blunder. Honestly, every time you move your f-pawn, you need to be extremely careful. First of all, your king is getting so weak. Here I have already the queen h4 giving a check, and this is quite bad, because after queen here, pawn takes, I can take. The pawn cannot take back because this rook is hanging, and so that's very bad. But I think I have even better. I think I can take here. I'm taking a bishop. The pawn needs to take. Huh? Well, I mean, okay, I take. Okay. That was surprising, honestly. Well, how to get to 1072? Take the free queen that your opponent offers you. New game, and we have white. We go with e4 again. Ooh, surprise! My opponent played the Scandinavian. Okay, I'm taking here. This opening is honestly not such a good opening to start with, because you go against one principle. Don't go out with the queen too early, because now my knight is going out, attacking the queen with tempo, so the queen needs to move again, and I have the possibility to develop another piece. So, from a general principle point of view, it's a bad opening. Now, my opponent is giving a check, so what I do, I simply develop a piece, and I'm ready to go out with my knight, attacking the queen one more time. And that's why I don't like this opening. I can also play d4, attacking the queen, and I will play d4, I'm attacking the queen with the pawn. Now, it's true, my opponent played a move bishop g4, this bishop is not hanging because my own bishop is pinned. But I played the move d4 and I'm attacking the queen needs to move. And I have so many moves available next. I could play bishop e3, knight here. Well, knight here, not sure, because after bishop takes, I have to take with the pawn, and I don't really like it. You're not serious. What is this? They're giving me queen. Oh my god. They give away queens like they are candies. Okay, I mean, I have an extra queen. That's insane. Okay, when you have an extra queen, one thing you don't have to do is do not relax. I literally beat players over 2000 rating with a queen down. And I've lost games with a queen down. I'm not just flexing my wins. I also lose. So having a huge material advantage doesn't mean that you will win the game. And the fastest way to lose your game is to relax. So let's not relax, and let's try to still play good moves. Now, there is a good check here that wins a pawn and might win the rook, and this looks great, so I'm going to do that. If not, I can simply bring out this bishop, castle, and keep going, bring all the pieces, the rook in the center, and we'll be fine. Now, I take here, and this rook is lost forever and ever. My opponent had to go out with the other knight. I don't understand this move. You're moving again another knight, and your rook is still trapped, doesn't have space. Going out with the other knight was needed, so at least the rook could move and be saved. My opponent might resign very soon. There could be also a checkmate here on c8 at some point. Okay, bishop e7 is not really mate. But if I can play bishop g5, then it's checkmate here with queen c8. This is, there are lots of opening traps when this happens. Bishop e7, unfortunately this is not checkmate because there is bishop here. But what I could play is check this and bishop there. But honestly, I think I'm going for tricks, so not. I'm just taking the rook, be happy. Then I'm taking other pawns, taking this other pawn. And you gonna be fine. I'll castle. I'm not in a hurry. This knight cannot be developed. Well, every time you go with the queen on the side of the board, make sure that the queen has a way to go back. And here there is a very easy way to go back. The queen can go back on f3, the queen can take here and then go back this side of the board. So there are different ways, so I don't have to be worried about. But you gotta be careful. This is another free knight, and now this is under attack. This pawn is under attack, and I feel like I'm plus 50. That's quite a nice advantage. Maybe resignation, maybe. My opponent is now using all their time to think. Well, you should use your time when is the moment to use the time. For example, maybe this would have been a good moment to use time. Okay, now they resign. By the way, you remember to like and subscribe to the channel, and your opponents will also blunder the queen 2 times. Yes. These games were so short that I play one more game. So in this video, we'll play 2 games with white, 2 games with black, and I go still with the move e5. This is El Clásico. What? So my opponents are not really serious. I think they hate me. They don't want to play me. Okay, let's go e4, e5. What I wanted to say, this is the best opening to start playing chess. Why? If you follow lots of YouTube, you see that there are lots of traps, lots of sharp. There's a flight lever with bishop here, knight there. Lots of attacking ideas. And that's a good way to start playing chess because you learn how important it is to defend your own king. There are lots of gambits, so you understand how good development can make the difference, even if you are a pawn down. Now, my opponent went for the Scotch, so they are attacking the center. That's a very good opening, played by many world champions like Kasparov, for example, and I simply develop. I'm attacking this pawn. Now my opponent takes, and every time you have a chance to take with the pawns, capture towards the center. This is a rule of thumb, because the pawn on the side of the board controls just one square, and not such an important square. Instead, the pawns in the center controls very important squares. Now, honestly, here we are in a very theoretical field. e5 is theory, and now the best move is queen e7. You might say, what? This is a very weird looking move. The queen is going in front of the bishop, and usually you shouldn't do such moves. But what am I doing? I am pinning this pawn. The pawn cannot be taken, and there is the king behind. So now, my opponent protected like this. I'm thinking if I can play immediately the move d6 and then take this pawn for free. It looks quite nice, and I will do that. I'm attacking this pawn so that my opponent needs to defend it one more time. And usually, instead of f4, my opponent should have played the move queen e2. So they also go in front of the bishop, but the queen on e2 is defending the pawn. Now, queen f3 is a strange move, but with an idea. They are attacking this pawn, and this would be a check attacking the rook. So my opponent is playing with lots of energy. That's clear. Now, I have a very simple move, bishop d7, just developing and protecting this pawn, and still this pawn will be under attack. Also, I have this move knight d5, but after knight d5, I need to be ready to face the move c4, attacking the knight with the pawn. And after the knight moves, this pawn is still hanging. So, for all this reason, I will go simple chess. I think usually playing logical and simple moves is one of the best tips you could give. Develop your pieces, castle. I also forget to do these things sometimes, and I get bad position usually. So playing simple chess is very hard, but basically the best advice to give in chess. Now, my opponent really wants to take there, but I think this time this move is a mistake, because that's true. The pawn cannot take because the rook behind is hanging. But now I can play this move, and basically after c4, this bishop is really hanging, so my opponent could be in trouble. Let's see. Also, one idea after c4 could be to try to go with the knight here and say like, yo, I'm going to threaten this fork. But you know what is the best move after the move c4? This is one suggestion I want to give you. Don't think just one move and go for it. Always try to consider at least 2 or 3 moves. This is what chess masters call candidates. So every time you need to have 2 or 3 candidates and then compare them. So in this position, for example, what could I do? I could take this pawn because it's a free pawn. After this, my queen is going to take, I can develop. What else could be a move? Well, knight here seems very nice. I'm attacking this bishop and I'm attacking this pawn, giving a fork. This seems nice, but I'm moving the same piece twice, which is usually not what you should do in the opening. But if that works and wins me a rook, I should definitely go for it. The point is that after knight takes, my opponent has the bishop to d3. The bishop is protecting the pawn, and if I take here, pawn takes is just a trade and is not convenient for me because this knight moved 1, 2, 3, 4 times and then got just traded. That's not convenient. So I don't see a third move that is relevant here. I would love to develop this bishop, but I cannot. So I'm taking here so that I can next move the queen, develop my bishop, and be happy. I think like there is lots of happiness when you complete your development. My opponent is very smart. This is the strongest 1100 I've ever seen. This move is strong. They want to castle, they don't care about the pawn, and maybe in the future they want to put a rook on the e-file and win my queen back. That's very well done, really. Okay, I have different options. I could try to push here, attacking the queen, and I think this is a very nice idea. I could also go with the queen out here, giving a check, and then I can move my bishop. But the problem of queen out here, king moves, and moving this bishop is that this pawn is hanging, and then there is a strong rook and queen hitting at this weak point. I don't want that. So, comparing those 2 moves, I think pushing is the best. I'm going for it. And maybe the next move will be queen here. Now, I have a question for you. Do you think it's good for black to exchange the queen in this position? The answer is yes. Black should try to exchange queens because this king is right now vulnerable, plus black has an extra pawn. So when you have an advantage, you can trade pieces. That's very good. Now, my opponent, again, very smart. This queen g3 is annoying because if I give a check, the king moves. I cannot develop easily this bishop because this pawn would be hanging. But there is a strong idea. So here you can go with the fianchetto. If you are not, well, if you're not Italian, probably you're not Italian. I don't know how many Italian are watching my videos. Fianchetto is pronounced fianchetto. Oh, not fianchetto. Just that you know. Yeah. It's an Italian word, and the ch is k is strong. So there we go. Now, fianchetto is here on the board. This rook is attacking this pawn, but the pawn is protected, so it's not a problem. My bishop is amazing in fianchetto, hitting at this pawn on b2. So this bishop cannot easily be developed because this would be hanging. And the most important thing is that I'm ready to castle my king. And then I can breathe in, breathe out, and be happy. Yes, my king can be safe, and that's very important. And I have an extra pawn, and I can think about a plan. Knight there attacking my pawn. That's very smart. Now, we need to protect that pawn. We don't want to lose it. There is a very easy way to protect that pawn. And you see that? It's the move f5. And I built the connected 4. That doesn't make you win in chess, but in connected 4, yes. Every time you push your f-pawn, I say it all the time and I stress you about this point. Your king is weak. And usually, once you push this pawn, this diagonal is weak. But now that there is a pawn on g6 that kind of protects this diagonal, it's not such a big problem. And you have to take care of another diagonal. So after f5, this diagonal is going to be weak. Meaning that if my king is castled, then a bishop here could be annoying. But what I could do, I could play f5 anyway, and I'm going to play it because this pawn needs to be protected. And then I'm going to castle and put my king on h8, and my king will be safe. And my opponent is not fast enough to play bishop here and put real pressure because there is this strong knight that cannot be removed, is protected by a pawn, so it's all good. And my opponent is not fast enough to attack me. Castle. And now, finally, all my pieces are developed. So we need to start to think about a plan. This is one of the toughest themes in chess because, you know, it really makes you do an upgrade if you're able to know the right plane in the position and to go for it. One great starting point is to see the pawn structure. Yes, the pawn are the soul of the game. The pawn structure is the soul of the game. So the pawn are giving you so much information. For example, the first information we have here is that we have a passed pawn, a protected passed pawn. So this is a very good point for us. We also have two double pawns, but this is not a huge problem because these pawns cannot be attacked right now. Also, my opponent has a bishop on the corner that is not very active. And I want to ask you a thing. What is, among the minor pieces are bishop and knight, what is the worst minor pieces for black? And it's quite clear that this bishop is suffering a little bit, is blocked around the pawns, the so-called bad bishop. A very great plan is usually to trade your bad pieces in exchange of good pieces of your opponent. So if we could trade that bishop, it would be really good. Let's keep that in mind. Also would be very good if we could activate that bishop. Anyway, I think we have a check and we have to evaluate it. Every time you see a check, you gotta surely evaluate it. This is not like such a big deal because, I mean, the king moves and I achieved nothing. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a rook on the open file. That's good. Right now, I don't see a way to improve this bishop to try to trade it. Well, it could be bishop c8, an idea. Actually, bishop c8 maybe. The point is that after the trade, my rook is really bad on c8. But we could consider that move, for real. Also, maybe c5, bishop here. I don't like this move because the pawn on c6 is really well placed to support his knight in the center. So I like it. Okay. So I feel like usually I like to take bishop in exchange of knights. Now my knight is so strong in the center that I'm thinking about it. But still, I think I'm going to do that. Yes, I'm taking here. And how is my opponent taking back? With the queen or with the knight? That's a good question. Usually they say that the best piece to put in front of the passed pawn is a knight. Because the knight is still very active. And this move is a huge blunder because my bishop sneaks in. And now the rook and the king are both under attack. My opponent is losing an exchange. But this is a very important moment because, yeah, I'm just going in with all my pieces. The queen here, the bishop here. This bishop is still a bit outside. The bishop cannot really play too much. I think like one of the best right for my opponent is to try to go, I'm playing this move, try to go here active with the knight. Now, I don't want to take immediately this rook, but I want to try to attack and win a full rook. So not just a rook in exchange of a bishop, but just a full rook. Now, I'm attacking this knight that is protecting the rook. And I think I'm ready to go this, bishop takes, then I have to move the king, and then I could win the full rook. My opponent needs to take fast measures. I would play king away. Because then I can simply... Well, the rook is now... would be unpinned. And then I am not in time to take here, because after bishop takes is a check. I have to move my king, and then my opponent can move the rook. This move honestly makes very few sense. It's not helping at all. You don't need this square right now. There is no problem about back rank. So I'm going to take here. Bishop takes with check. This is going to be... Okay, surprise. I'm taking here and I'm winning a full rook, giving a check. And that's quite a problem. So I need to find a way to take there too. Let's see if we can find a way. So this bishop is dead after this move. The bishop cannot be moved. We said that this bishop in the corner was in trouble. My opponent really needed to take here back with the bishop. That was very important. But sometimes it is very hard to see pieces going backwards. This is a blind spot, especially for people that don't have so much experience with chess. So that's why probably my opponent missed it. I'm taking here. The queen is not really going anywhere because the square is controlled. Ooh, actually, you know what could have been spicy? The rook here could have been really spicy. Oy, oy, oy. This rook move instead is not really a problem for me, I think. Yeah, I just need to avoid the checks, like lots of checks, and then should be fine. I'm giving this check, and let's see where the king goes. Because if the king goes here, I have mate in 1. GG's. I mean, the king had to go backwards here. It was still completely lost, but still I have to take care about the checks. Probably this move is just winning, because after this, my opponent has some checks, but I think I can just hide behind the pawns. This is a very good idea. Yes, go hide behind the pawns. Bing, boom, bang, boom. And now there are no checks anymore, and I'm complete. And that's all for today. If you like this video, remember to like and subscribe to the channel, and your opponent might also blunder in less than 20 moves and lose their queen. And if this doesn't happen, you can still enjoy this other video. Big mistakes chess players still make and how you can exploit them. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.